Lil Durk and Lil Baby just dropped their new collab album, The Voice of the Heroes, and we're going to be giving you guys a full album review. And if you enjoy the review, leave a thumbs up and let us know in the comments your favorite song off the album. So, Ant, explain to them kind of the concept that we do our album reviews with.
Absolutely. So we have different criteria we rate by. The first one is artist performance. The second would be features. Then we do content, production, and instant replay. So basically, the instant replay is, how this album is going to sit with us in the next couple of weeks. And we don't use a numerical system for this, so we don't give numbers to it. You can't give numbers to art. So basically, we just give our general emotions for it. It goes from bad, mid, good, amazing, and then perfect. So another thing about this is that we don't necessarily kind of look at albums the same way. So let's say J. Cole's The Off Season, we kind of have different criteria for that, and we look for different things in that. And for this one, we kind of are a bit more lenient with these sort of categories because it is a trap album. We understand that certain things don't match up to it, but listen, nonetheless, I'm super hyped for this. And guys, actually leave your ranking systems for this because there's a lot of good stuff to take out of this.
Yeah, there definitely is. So let's actually start off with the artist performance. And honestly, seeing Lil Baby and Lil Durk connect again after, all of their collab songs in the past, such as Every Chance I Get, Three-Headed Goat, Finesse Out the Gangway, all those songs were really solid. So I was hyped for this, man. And I find that they really, you didn't get, let's say, complex lyricism. You can't go into this expecting that. You didn't get, the most extravagant bars per se, but they gave their all into every verse, and you really felt the passion through what they were rapping about. And they actually had, a message to give out to the public with
Absolutely.
this album.
And every song low-key serves a different purpose in the track list, and that's what's nice about it too. So, as far as what their good performances goes, the only sort of gripe I did have with it is that sometimes flows did get a bit repetitive.
Yeah,
and,
true.
It did sound like that. But as far as what they were doing on it, it was good. I really enjoyed what Lil Baby and Lil Durk brought to it. Not only that, but the way that they, the cadence that they brought into this project, and let's say, the way that they emphasize certain stories. I didn't expect him to go that deep too. There's a certain, level of, let's say, how can I put this? It's not going to be complex, as you said. It's not going to be a lyrical masterpiece, but they're both great rappers and they're guys that could do amazing stuff. So that's what I was expecting out of it, and that's low-key what I got.
Honestly, I did want some more back and forth. We got it on the song Still Hood, and I loved it. We got it for the first portion of the song. I wanted to kind of see more than that. And in terms of experimentation, you didn't get too much of it, but you did get Lil Baby singing on the hook of Please. That was nice. And then you also got, Lil Durk kind of experimenting with his dynamic vocals. He was kind of harmonizing also on the song Bruised Up, which is the outro track. And that's one of my favorite songs on the album. I'll get into it later when we talk about the content. But overall, I just feel like they really, they meshed well together. They didn't have, let's say, the same chemistry maybe that Lil Baby and Gunna had, for example, but they did sound good together.
Not only that, but I also like the different types of deliveries they brought. Let's say, look at something like Who I Want. There was more of a romantic and more melodic performance to it. And then let's say something like Bruised Up was more personal and more deep-hearted and felt. And then
sure.
Man on My Word was something more hard and gritty, something that you would expect from both of them on a top-tier level. So it was also nice to see how, their deliveries and their flows were able to keep up to certain songs and the moods of those songs.
Did anybody outshine each other on the song?
Honestly, I am a bigger fan of Lil Baby than Lil Durk, but I do find their chemistry did suit each other. No one necessarily outshined each other, which I like too.
And I feel nobody really took dominance. It's not one of the artists was dominating the hooks. No, they all had their equal portions on the album. And I think for that reason, we have to give the artist performances good because that's what it was, man. They gave their all into every verse and nothing felt phoned in. They really came in with these aggressive deliveries and it was fire for the most part.
It was, and it wasn't something where you put it it's amazing or a perfect where this is going to be an absolute masterclass. No, but I don't feel as if it has to go there. That's not necessarily what you expect from a Lil Baby and Lil Durk album. Not only that, but I also like how a lot of their verses weren't overstretched. If you go through a lot of these track lists, some of the verses only last a minute and then a minute and a half, and they also had their equal parts on it. It wasn't one artist had more of a part on one song and then the other had a shorter verse. That's what I liked about it too. So let's move on to the features, because this was a very interesting aspect to it.
We had Rod Wave, we had Meek Mill, we had Young Thug, and we had Travis Scott.
So off the bat, which one was your favorite out of all of them?
My favorite feature, Probably Meek Mill.
I
Honestly,
have to agree with you.
the way that he came in, man, so much energy, and I just like this is the Meek Mill that I've been waiting to hear from for a while, and it reminded me of like some of the work he did on Dreams Worth More Than Money, and he just came in with a super aggressive delivery off the bat right away.
Couple of flow switches as well.
Yeah, and it sounded like he's warming up to drop new music. Like I felt that energy from Meek, and some of the bars actually really hit hard, man.
Not only that, but I think Travis Scott did have a good portion on it. Like, I did like how he started off his verse rather than how he ended it. But it was nice to see that Travis got into a new element, because when I first heard the start of the production, I was like, is he really going to be able to keep up this tempo? And he was. And like, that was nice about it. It's just like, I don't know if I was the biggest fan of like that flow switch, especially with the auto tune. I find like maybe it was a bit off, but regardless, it was still there. And I know how you feel about that Rod Wave feature.
Yeah,
I was okay with it, but I know you really not a fan of it.
Yeah, so that was off the song Rich Off Pain, and I just felt honestly like the hook was cool. It was kind of your standard Rod Wave hook, but he didn't suit that production. It's kind of another case where it's like you can't picture Travis on that type of, hardcore trap beat the same way where you couldn't picture Rod Wave on a song that has like heavy bass and these really intense hi-hats. Yes, he's rapped in that production before, but here on this album, it just felt like he would have been better suited for more of a melodic track like Bruised Up, for example. Would have much preferred to hear him on something like that.
I agree. Maybe it was a bit out of place, but like I don't think it was a bad feature at all. Like I still think like it's not that like it did anything to the track list. Like probably it could have been better, but it definitely like it wasn't a total miss for me. But one that was a miss for me, and like I'm really disappointed to say this, was Young Thug. I expected much more, and it was like when he came in, especially with like that Wheezy production, I expected him to go absolutely crazy. And it was like weird because like it was almost as if he started off his verse talking. So was it like maybe a flow and delivery that you liked and you want to see more of, or how did you feel about it?
The flow and delivery was cool. For me, it was like Thug sounded really raw on this. Like there seemed like there wasn't as much auto-tune, as much vocal effects on his voice, and that's one aspect that I kind of liked about it, is because you never really heard Thug that way before. But at the same time, it just, I don't know, it felt like he was rapping off beat at times, and it just wasn't impressive, man.
It wasn't impressive, and it definitely wasn't his best features. Like, if you compare this to most of his other features, it definitely wasn't.
I do like the fact, though, that they didn't stack this whole track list with features.
That's facts.
You know what I mean? They only selected 4, but overall, I mean, nothing memorable, and I think we have to give a rating of mid here.
It is.
You know?
It is mid, because it's not that it's, good is when it suits the play. This is how we rate it. Good is when I would say it suits the track list, and like it doesn't necessarily do too much, but it really does add flavor to the track list. For this, it's like I could have probably like gone like the whole album.
They could have carried the track list,
and
without
that's what
those
was
featured
impressive.
artists.
I think that's what's impressive is like none of those features outshined like Lil Baby or Lil Durk on this. Like they really gave this their all, and that's something that I'm gonna have to go with. But let's move on to the content, because this is a major part of this album, and going into this album, it's not something I expected to be so prominent, because obviously like these guys are not the most lyrical, and you're not going into Illmatic, but I mean the type of messages that are projected throughout this track list are fucking amazing, and I kind of like it got me going, and like got me thinking like, okay, they could actually carry a full project full of different messages and different content.
Yeah, they actually had a lot to say, man, and I was super thrilled that they kind of kept with that idea and that concept of being the voice of the heroes and kind of telling people the do's and the don'ts of that street life, because obviously they've been in it before their rap careers. And honestly, it's just Lil Durk, I feel like, really got detailed and gave a lot of imagery about his upbringing, and also how he spent a year away from his kids because he was in jail, and how that affected him. And I just love the fact that on every song they had something to say. If you look at Lil Baby, he talks about how he's becoming, how he went from becoming a trapper to a rapper to an artist, and now he's a businessman. You know what I mean? He has his 4PF label, and he says like one day I'll be making the billions like Jay-Z. So.
And not only that, but if you look at a song like If You Want To, it's like the whole aspect of the song is like, them explaining that regardless of the situation that you're in or the cards that you're dealt, you could do whatever you want, and you're able to strive for greatness regardless of the circumstances. And that was something that I liked, because I feel as if a lot of people need to be relating to that nowadays. Even let's say something like how it feels like, you have Lil Baby and Lil Durk going back and forth on, kind of like the struggles of their upbringing, and being like, you guys are feeling this and we felt it too. Even though like we have everything that we have now, we've gone through this and we understand how it feels to, go through certain pains through, growing up in a rougher neighborhood and different stuff like that. So I love the type of motivation that they were able to bring out in this track list.
Yeah, I also really enjoyed the track "Still Hood." That was amazing to me because you kind of got Lil Durk on this more relaxed and laid back delivery, and he was kind of rapping about how growing up, he had to. He was living with a bunch of junkies, and how he was sleeping on this air mattress that he had to actually put duct tape to, because or else the air would come out and he wouldn't be able to sleep on it.
Not only that, but he also speaks about the importance of his family in this and like how much they mean to him, and how regardless of the amount of money or the amount of fame he's getting, he will still keep that close to his heart. And I think that's why we have to overall give this a good rating. Like, it was solid, especially for the type of subgenre, let's say, we're in.
Also the concepts of the song. If you look at, let's say, a song like Bruised Up, you have Lil Durk talking about like what would happen to my career, my life right now if I were to go to jail. And then Lil Baby comes in and he kind of gives advice to what you should do if you are in that position
Buy
of
a
being
knife
put in
before
jail.
a cell phone.
Buy a knife before a cell phone, he raps. And he also says how you should be showering with your boxers, and he just gives you these tips, I guess, that he's acquired over time. And it was interesting to see that it was kind of a call and response to the same theme on that song.
Absolutely. And like, I guess the reason why we probably won't give this like amazing or perfect is just because like once you start getting into there, you get like really, really detailed themes and you get like more intricate storytelling. But this was good. It was solid. Like, there was a lot of good stuff to go through. You guys are going to enjoy it, and it's definitely something that I hold close to me. But let's get on to the production, because this is another big aspect of it. And one thing that I feel as if gets really repetitive with trap music nowadays is obviously the pianos. And as like when you have a track list that's 20 songs, low key the tracks start to sound the same because you could only go so far with the production. But this was nice because there was different moods to this album. As I mentioned before, there was more motivational tracks that had more mellowed out productions and pianos. Then let's say you get something like Still Hood, where it's just the tempos.
I felt like I was in a
perfect.
jazz lounge.
Exactly.
And like the chord progression, how it starts off with just that piano, which is really somber, and then kind of leads into the guitar that you get later on. That was a highlight for me, and that was produced by London on the track. And you got a lot of good producers on this. You got Murda Beats, you got ATL Jacob, you got Chi Chi, you got Turbo. It was a good, well-rounded cast, and honestly, I was surprised that we didn't get more drill beats.
That is true.
I was expecting them to jump on a couple of those, and we didn't get much of that. But I mean, overall, the production does get repetitive. But like, if you look at the beats, like separately, they are good. You know what I mean? The hi-hats are there. The 808s are really always knocking. It just, I don't know. I wanted to see some different production, and I feel like that's maybe goes down to the choices that Lil Baby and Durk made, but the beats themselves did work for me.
I also think that maybe the repetitiveness just stems from like how long the track list is, especially with it being, having 15 plus songs on this. I believe it clocks in at 18 songs exactly.
18 songs, 1 hour.
So, but that's the thing, is that like low key, it doesn't, like, it sounds repetitive, but it doesn't at the same time. Like, it's just that borderline. You know what I'm trying to say? It's not something that throws off the track list for me, but something like How It Feels has like a super crazy bounce to it, and it gets me going, and it was cool to see how that was placed in there, because as you said, all the 808s were really well done. And then even at that, I also love the mixing and mastering on all of their vocals. Like, everything sounded super clear as well. Like, there wasn't at a time where I was like, what did he say? Like, or trying to go back to a bar. Like, everything got delivered properly. And like, I have to give a big props to their engineers, because they made the soundtrack sound really nice.
Yeah, so overall, I think we have to give it a score of good. Yes, the beats kind of got repetitive at certain points, but if you look at the beats themselves, they were all well mixed and mastered, and the meshing with the vocals really worked out all throughout.
It was good. It was definitely a great fan experience. But let's actually get onto the instant replay.
Before we get to our final score.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this is a big one, because how is this going to receive your rotation? So this one's a bit less technical. So I'm just going to ask you off the bat, like, do you think this is going to be something that's going to be in your rotation for the next couple of months?
I mean, yes. Certain songs, like there's a good portion. I feel like there's maybe a couple of weak songs that are kind of skips for me on this album, but overall, I will keep some of the standouts, like songs like Still Runnin', Still Hood. I would keep songs like, I think, Man of My Word was
Absolutely.
was one of them.
Make It Out would get my thing.
Bruised Up.
How It Feels would be good.
There's a lot of standouts, yeah.
There is a lot of standouts. It's just like obviously the 18 tracks, like, you know, bring in that sort of thing of like obviously you're not going to go through the whole thing over and over and over again.
But this is like as good as a trap album that it is. Like it's nowhere near, let's say, the upper echelon of trap albums. There's still a couple of songs I'm gonna play this year, but moving on into the future years, like I don't know if this album is gonna really stay in my rotation that heavy. And it's also because I feel like as good as Lil Durk and Lil Baby performed on the album, they're just not the best suited duo for each other. Like a lot of these songs, I'm like, okay, Lil Baby could have done this one on his own, or Lil Durk could have done it on his own, and you didn't get too much of that back and forth. And the chemistry was good, but it just they could find better, you know, partners to make collab albums with.
I want to see another Baby and Gunna album.
Yeah.
That's for sure after this. But, you know, regardless, like the instant replay value on, let's say, My Turn was amazing because,
Yeah, it was.
You know, that stuck through my rotation the whole time. Like, I don't think it's going to have that sort of cadence with me. But regardless, like there are a lot of standouts on this and I was very happy with it. So overall, I think we're going to have to give instant replay a good rating.
Yeah.
It's going to make the rotation. It's going to be heavy for the summer. It's definitely not going to stick as something as like, you know, My Turn.
I was close to giving this a mid rating, but I mean, there's definitely a lot of standouts that might end up being, you know, some of the best trap songs of the year. So when we're looking at this from a big scale for the overall score, what are you feeling, man? Like, what's your first impression after hearing the album?
I would give it a good rating. I would definitely give it good. It's not something where My Turn was amazing and like it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna make my top 10. Like I don't think so. But you know, for the effort and what I got, I have to give it a good rating. Like it felt nice. Like it felt well calculated. As we said, there's a lot of different standouts. If you look at production wise, single handedly rather than a whole coherent track list, all of the productions were well done, mixed and mastered well. Not only that, but like there was a good amount of content matter. The content matter didn't get repetitive. And if you look at the way Lil Baby and Lil Durk performed, that was good as well. Like they didn't miss on anything. So yeah, I would have to give this a good rating. How about you?
I definitely agree. It's a good album. I think that, you know, the performances really were solid all throughout. And that was something I was worried about, is that like, okay, Lil Baby might be washing him on this album. That was kind of a thought that I had. And that's kind of a biased opinion because I do listen to more Lil Baby than I do Lil Durk. But apart from that, I love the fact that they really kept the message, you know, all throughout the album. You know, every song wasn't about the same shit. You know what I mean? They kept rapping about how they want to be role models, and also they empowered the audience too, being like, you can be the voice of the streets, you can be a millionaire, you can achieve all the shit that I achieved. And that was really important because I feel like a lot of people could probably relate to this album. And
it's definitely, I have a feeling that this album is going to do really well with their fans. Like a lot of their fans are going to come out and like really bump this because it was a solid effort, and like you felt the raw, genuine emotion that went into this project, and that's what I think I liked about it the most.
Yeah, it was definitely a good album, and it will make the rotation.
Thank you guys for watching the whole video. Hit that subscribe button to join the family. We're doing weekly reviews. We're giving you guys all the updates in the industry. Plus, we have our series called What to Expect, where we actually take you through the album before it drops. Plus, if you guys want to chat with us, you guys could join our Discord server. The link is in the bio. You guys could talk hip hop with us there. Thank you guys for watching again. And guys, I'll see you on the next one.